I also thought about the version of Lazarus that became so obsessed with the hunt. It was a very like Captain Ahab sort of character.
Yeah. Singular focus, not thinking straight. And then what? Just what are you gonna do when you get that whale? And then what?
Yeah.
Perhaps I could use this as an excuse to go to those far-off planets with little polka-dotted people if necessary, and be able to talk about love, war, nature, God, sex, all those things that go to make up the excitement of the human condition.
I'm Captain James Kirk.
Spock.
Your move, Captain.
Jim Kirk of the Enterprise.
What's going on? I'm James Kirk. These people are my friends and my shipmates. Leave my crew alone.
Out of the question.
How about that?
James Kirk.
It fits like a glove, Captain.
Oh, the bonehead ideas. Gentlemen, I'm Captain James Kirk. Get out of my chair. Get out of it now.
My greetings and felicitations, Captain. So good of you and your officers to, drop in. Absolutely smashing.
Jolan True, and welcome to Humanist Trek. It's a Star Trek podcast about the humanism in Star Trek. I'm Sarah Ray.
And I'm Allie Ashmead.
Allie, last week on the show, I made a joke about the solar people that come to your door and come a-knocking. And I thought I would tell on the show the story of our solar adventure. We had solar on our house in Florida. We had it put on. It was a pretty, painless process, I guess. But so the guys come to your door, and we're in a new construction neighborhood, right? So like there are contractors left and right coming to the door all the time, dropping off their trash. And we're tempted to put a sign on the door that's like, don't leave your shit in my, because it's, they're flyers and business cards.
Pamphlets and stuff?
Yeah. And it's landscapers and you name it, right? So one of these people that comes a calling is the solar companies. And we decided we've wanted solar. That was the plan all along. We just didn't know what company to go with. The company that we used in Florida is not licensed here, so they don't have a presence.
Right.
So we ended up going with a company, long story short. And they came out and they did the site survey. They did like a mock-up of like, here's what your system would look like. Here's how much it's going to cost, etc. Now, first of all, I learned in this process that the power company has final say over how many panels you get to have. Which
I think is kind of unfair.
Oh, it's
because
total horseshit.
The whole purpose of getting solar is so that you don't you're not dependent on the power company. And if they have a say, that seems kind of crooked to me.
Yeah. Well, their say is a protection on their business. And I get that, right? So fine. So what these solar companies do is they try to design a system that will produce the exact amount of power that you're currently using so that you don't need power from the power company, but also so that you don't generate too much and sell it back to the power company, right? We're trying to break you even is what we're trying to do. And then if it all works out properly, the payments that you make on the system should be about what you would have paid the power company for power.
Right, because they don't want the consumer to get ahead.
Right.
It sounds like that's what. They don't want you making any money.
No. So then once the system is paid off, then you're ahead, right? Then you're just generating your own power and it's not costing you anything. So that's what the goal is. And they over-designed our system to start with because I was like, I should be able to cover my roof in solar if I want. It's my roof. I should be able to generate however much damn power I want. But that's not how it works. So anyway, these guys come out, they do all the things, they get up on the roof, they install the system, they leave. Weeks go by without any contact from anybody about anything. Right. So
is it at this point, are you under the impression that it's turned on? And
no, at this point, we're waiting for the inspection.
Okay.
Right. So they install the thing. Somebody has to come inspect it. And then from the city, I believe it's a city inspection. And then the power company has to come out. And then the power company is the final, okay, you can turn it on now. Right. So one day, these guys knock on our door and they're like, hey, so we're here to take your solar panels down.
What?
And we're like, excuse the fuck out of me? Yeah, he says it turns out that whoever installed your system, and we don't use that, and we don't use those people anymore. But whoever installed your system, they're supposed to install one panel and then have the inspection done before they put the rest of them up. So we got to take them. So we got to take them all down and then have the inspector come out, and then we'll come back and then put them back on. Okay.
Oh my God.
Already we're livid.
Meanwhile, is this costing you anything?
Not yet. But it's coming. They do all of that. They stack the panels in our garage, taking up our space. And they're like, well, we don't really know how long it's going to be from here. We don't know how long it's going to be till the inspector comes. Oh, we're like, furious.
Man, just take this shit and just go.
Right?
Let's take this shit and go.
Right. Or give me a healthy credit at the end of this process.
For wasting your fucking time.
So the guy comes out with the inspector weeks later. And he says, they get up, climb up on the roof, whatever. And he's like, ugh. And I'm like, what now? And he says, well, the guys that took the panels off the roof, they were supposed to leave one. There's supposed to be one panel on the roof for the inspection. But we're just going to go ahead and do it. And I was like, oh, okay. I mean, this is your business. I don't know anything about it. I don't know what you need to expect. Well, it turns out that these guys also, like, this guy came down from the roof with lots of notes. He was like, there are a lot of things that I don't like. He passed it. The electrician, city person, whatever, passed the inspection.
What didn't he like?
But these people that installed it, like, it's more cosmetic, I think, than anything. Like the way they ran the conduit around, up the side of the house and around and all of that kind of stuff. It was just kind of a sloppy job.
Okay, I was worried they damaged your roof somehow.
No. So they pass the inspection. Those guys leave. A week later or whatever, the guys come back out, put the panels back on the roof. We're finally at the point again where we're like ready and waiting. Somebody come turn the damn thing on. Meanwhile, to answer your previous question, we've been getting emails from the lender because the way they do this is they finance the system and your payments should equal what you would be paying the power company, right? So the lender is sending us messages that our first payment is due on this date, and because of the way it's set up as an automatic withdrawal.
Right.
So
but you just got the fucking panels.
Yeah. So I responded and was like, well, here's my notice that I'm not paying for something I don't own, something I don't have yet. Those fuckers don't even have the panels on the roof right now. Like my system's not turned on. I shouldn't have to pay. And they came back and were like, per the contract that we all signed, we can start collecting the first payment on X number of days after this date or 30 days after the contract was signed or whatever it is. So too bad. Talk to your installer and tell them to get their shit together. I'm like, this is all bullshit.
Yeah.
Yep. But just like the construction of our house and all of the problems that we've found along the way with that, all of these people are dealing with the same problem every other company is. They don't have enough people. They, and they're taking on more work than they can actually staff. And then they rush to get things done. So things are done sloppily.
Mistakes.
That's just kind of where we're at.
That sucks.
I will say, to their credit, the solar company did come back and say, like, for any charges that they take, any payments that they take before your system gets turned on, just let us know and we'll take care of it. We'll see whether they do or not, but anyway, so there you go. It should not be this difficult to go green. We should have the final say in what that looks like, not the power company. The power company can go kick rocks for all I care. If we all put solar on our house and put them out of business, I'm sorry, that's a good thing. And the power company should be diversifying right now. If I was the CEO,
why don't they just get into solar then instead of worrying about getting money from people using energy?
Hell yeah!
Just start installing solar and make it more accessible to everyone.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm now that you've told me that, I've not considered solar before because I thought, oh, it's so expensive and this and that, and I didn't realize that you're going to get charged what you already pay for energy. You're just replacing one payment with another.
Exactly. Yeah.
I'm cool with that. I've never thought. I live in an old house. This is a old house.
Yeah.
I know the wiring is fucked. So, but I still I might consider it now. knowing that.
And I think the thing to know, like if you're new and haven't done solar before, the way that this whole system works, you got to know going in that some months are going to be rooftop heavy and some are going to be power company heavy. But the goal is to, like, at the end of a year, it should be balanced out, right? So there's some months that you're going to not generate enough power and you're going to have to pay the power company for power that they provide.
Man,
but then there are other months where you will generate more solar than you use, and that sells back to the power company. They pay you for your excess. So in the end, it's supposed to all wash out. So as long as like your usage doesn't change a lot, then you should be good. But yeah.
Cool.
Hey, let's talk about our episode this week. It is Star Trek The Original Series, Season 1, Episode 28, The Alternative Factor.
Sir, contact with an object. It's moving toward us. No visual contact yet.
Deflector is full intensity.
Mr. Sulu, yes, Captain. Anything on your scanners?
It's coming at light speed.
Collision course. Visual contact.
Anything, over?
All wavelengths dominated by ionization effects, sir.
All engines full stop.
As usual, our journey begins on the bridge of the Enterprise. Spock is looking into his Viewmaster, and I didn't notice this until like right this moment. But the ergonomics of that thing are terrible. He's like leaned over, hunched over this thing all the time.
He's actually always hunched over. At almost the beginning of every episode, whenever they're doing the busy work on the bridge, he's always hunched over doing something.
Anyway, it sounds like they're doing some planetary cartography when out on the lawn there arose such a clatter. The ship rocks back and forth. Everybody's doing the jerk. And the special effect here is a superimposed image of a nebula or something.
With some stars.
They kind of fade back and forth between the nebula and the bridge.
Kirk looks at Spock. He's like, Spock, what was that? And Spock says, he gets one word out. He says, incredible. And then it happens again. And then everybody does a jerk. But then he says, well, what my instruments read is just unbelievable. Everything within range. And this cracked me up.
I hate this line.
Me too.
So much.
I don't think I like this episode at all.
Ooh,
anyway.
Hot take.
Everything within range seemed to be on the verge of winking out twice in a split second. Like,
winking out is not a phrase Spock would say.
It is not a technical term either. It is, as he says it, as if everyone knows what winking out means.
Right.
And he says that, Spock says that the entire magnetic field in the solar system simply blinked. That the planet below, for one split second, obtained zero gravity. What he's describing is non-existent. I'm like, okay, so then how the fuck did you record that?
Right. Yeah, the science behind the MacGuffin here is a little weak, a little questionable.
A bit.
It's not grounded in reality very well, but okay. And not only that non-existence, but now where there was no life before, now there is a life form on the planet's surface. Not just any life form, though, a human being.
Uhura gets a call from Starfleet Command and standard general alert. And so Kirk puts the ship on alert, and that's when, Spock says, hey, I found a life form.
And Kirk, Spock, and some red shirts are beaming down to check it out. They get down to the transporter room, and Kirk has all the red shirts lined up, and he's like, some of you will die, but that's a sacrifice I'm willing to make. Looks like we're back on planet Vasquez Rock's playset here.
Vasquez Rock, Santa Clarita. If I had time, I
would have been real jealous.
There were some people who got to LA before.
Yeah.
And they went out to Santa Clarita and took pictures of the rocks. But yeah, this looks exactly like Vasquez Rocks.
Yeah. I almost expected a Gorn to come climbing down the rocks.
I know, right?
Doesn't take long and they spot a spaceship. And this thing looks like what you might see in another sci-fi show of the time. It's like a flying saucer thing with a clear dome over it. Looks the Jetsons. It's very Jetsons-like.
Yeah, Jetsons. I was trying to think of what show, and was it the Jetsons or was it that one movie?
There was the Jetsons where they were in those little pod-looking things with a saucer around it, and they as they go by.
Do you remember that movie with the crazy aliens with the big brains, and they were going yep 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 yep?
What? No.
It was a cult movie classic. Oh, what's it called?
I have no idea.
With the big brains and their eyes were like about to pop out of their head, and they had a big glass dome over their head. I'm crazy. Never mind.
If I saw it, I'd probably recognize it.
It's a famous movie. It probably came up in the 90s. Oh, when you hear it, you'll be like, oh, that movie. Oh, what's the name of that movie?
Okay, alien movie, big brains.
Oh, it's Mars Attacks.
Oh, yes. Okay, yes.
It's Mars Attacks. And they'd like go, whatever. Am I making that up? I think that's what they do. That's what I was thought of when I saw that spaceship. It is like Jetsons kind of real early flying saucer thing.
This actor off camera. So off camera, we hear a man yell, "You came!" This actor made some choices here. Like, I think we all remember Shatner for his overacting, but we've had a lot of guest stars on this show that slathered on pretty thick too, and this guy is definitely one of them.
Maybe that's why I was so
put off.
I had such an put off. Thank you. That was put off by this whole episode. I was like, half the time I was like, have I done mushrooms? Because that was the feeling when I was watching this episode.
So he's going on about needing to stop someone, but he's too weak, and he collapses and tumbles down the rocks a bit. Suddenly, we're back on the Enterprise. That was a weird cut. Like, did they beam this guy up? We didn't.
They jumped around.
Hard cut. Yeah. A Yo woman has a report on the dilithium crystals.
Yay, black woman on the bridge.
Yes.
Like, all right, sister.
Yes. This is Lieutenant Masters.
I was happy to see it.
She was great.
Yes, she was.
Spock shares some more details about this phenomenon. It was widespread, but strongest on the planet itself, and there have been no disturbances since.
Does this sound a little bit like, spoiler alert, The Burn?
Ooh. Yeah, it does.
Sound like The Burn?
It does sound like The Burn. Yeah, I didn't get that at all, but you're right.
I totally thought, that's a little different because it burned out their dilithium crystals.
Yeah. Wow.
But anyway, maybe that's where they got it from.
Uhura gets a phone call from Starfleet, code factor 1, and this was stupid. And they do this scene again in Next Gen. Kirk, as if he can hardly believe what he just heard Uhura say, asks her to repeat herself.
Red 2 message in 1 minute, Captain. Starfleet Command. Code factor 1, sir.
Repeat.
Code factor 1.
And this is just dumb and clunky, and I don't know why they like to write that way. Like, I get they're trying to build tension.
Code factor 1 sounds like ominous and stuff.
Yeah.
You know?
Code 1 is invasion status. Although on the last episode, it just meant war. There was code.
Was it the same?
Code 1, yeah. Kirk calls red alert on the PA, and we know this because they slap on the reverb. McCoy calls up from sickbay. Apparently, they did beam that guy up. Good, so it's great. And he's going to make it. Good news. Then the call from Starfleet Command comes through. This is Commodore Barstow. And he's like, I was just sitting here having tea with Commodores Kingsman and San Bernardino when everything started winking out. I understand that's the technical term.
Wink it out.
So yeah. Commodore Route 66 here explains that this effect was way more widespread than Kirk thought, and Kirk guesses this is a prelude to invasion.
Yeah.
Again, I am not buying that.
I'm not either. I mean, first of all, I'm not buying, like, Barstow, as he said, like, it was everywhere in the galaxy and far beyond.
Yeah.
The winking out happened. Complete disruption of normal magnetic and gravimetric fields and time warp distortions and yada, yada, yada.
Yeah.
But it was all centering from where the Enterprise was currently located.
None of that screams invasion to me. Weird, sure, unexplainable, yeah. But you haven't given me the right ingredients to buy into the idea that this is an invasion. Again,
this is my mushroom dream. It somehow all has to make sense somehow. So it's like a mushroom dream.
Commodore Route 66 assigns Kirk to investigate, but unfortunately he can't send any backup. In fact, he's evacuating everyone within 100 parsecs of that planet.
fuck you, Kirk.
You're on your own.
You're on your own. So Kirk's like, so what you're saying is we're basically bait.
Yeah.
You know?
Kirk and Spock review the situation and decide that Spock will investigate the planet further while Kirk goes to visit their new guest. Why didn't Kirk say anything to Commodore Route 66 about this guy?
I don't get
Not a word about, oh, by the way, we found this weird life form that we're interacting with. Like, yeah.
And so they hadn't even talked to him yet because he was like, he put the doc on hold. He's like, I'll talk to him later.
Yeah.
Because they didn't put the 2 and 2 together that his life force wasn't even detected until the winking out happened.
Right.
So, yeah. But then this next scene had me like, again, they're skipping pieces because the scene starts in his quarters where Kirk is talking to the guy and they immediately cut to the scene where, and that's how I ended up on the planet. I mean, and they didn't really, they skipped that whole thing.
Yeah. But we learned here that this guy is apparently chasing some kind of monster that appears humanoid, but isn't. It destroyed their whole civilization. And he asks for Kirk's help in his holy cause to visit justice and vengeance upon this monster.
Right?
There's another justice and vengeance.
And holy cause.
Yeah.
Why is it holy?
Right. Yeah, we never got that. Can we talk about this guy's beard, though? Because this was a choice.
Awful.
Oh.
It was awful.
Right. No, I want to yuck your yum. You do you. But this beard, it was like they left one little strip along the edge of his chin and shaved everything underneath of it. And then it was just this thin, wispy little, it was just weird.
Wispy. Yeah. Very wispy. And of course, I don't remember, again, they cut this out, but he didn't say my name is Lazarus. They just.
Yeah. He never says it on screen. Yeah.
No. It must have been part of that conversation that we got to see starting with, and that's how I came to be on the planet.
Right.
But his name is Lazarus, which is kind of biblical.
I don't remember the story of Lazarus.
I don't either. Something about he rose up again. I don't know.
Yeah, I was gonna look it up to see if there was any correlation to this, and then I didn't.
Yeah.
So on the planet, Spock and a red shirt are examining this spacecraft when Kirk and Lazarus roll up. And I didn't like this dialogue either. Lazarus has said that he's up against some other humanoid-ish life form. But Spock straight up calls Lazarus a liar. Because they're...
Which I love it. I mean, but it doesn't make any sense.
You, sir, are a liar. Their sensor scans revealed no other life. But just then, the nebula crossfade starts again, and there's like lightning cracking, and it looks like somebody's put pantyhose over the camera lens.
Yes. So bad. I'm a mushroom dream. Anyway.
Yeah, he's like flailing around like he's in battle, but we don't see anybody else. And then they do that newspaper spinny transition thing where it's like the Batman transition.
Yes, it's the worst. I expected to see a headline because the newspaper spins, but no.
Yes.
We are transported into some like negative exposure film negative exposure world, and I knew I was on mushrooms then. It's like,
so it's like a blue fog, and we see these two humanoids that are sort of in a negative fighting with each other. It's a Star Trek fight, but it's kind of a slow-mo Star Trek fight.
Star Trek fight!
Yeah. It's like fighting a Gorn.
Yeah.
Spinning newspaper transition again, and we're back on the planet, and Lazarus kind of collapses onto the ground and explains he was attacked again. He says, I told you it was a thing. All white, black, and empty. A terrible emptiness. And he says it'll kill all of us if we don't kill it first. And we're taken into commercial with a very animated Lazarus screaming, kill, 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 over and over.
Totally overacting. And we go back to the Enterprise.
McCoy is patching up Lazarus, and Kirk heads to the bridge to consult Spock. But Spock really doesn't have much more info, and McCoy calls Kirk down to sickbay because there's something fishy going on. McCoy says he had just treated a deep abrasion on Lazarus's forehead. He stepped into another room for a moment, and when he came back, there was no sign that any injury had ever existed.
Doc is telling the story in his usual way of elaborating and saying too many words, and Kirk is like, hurry it up,
Yeah. There's another line choice here that I didn't like. Kirk asks, well, where is he now? And McCoy's like, I don't know, Jim. This is a big ship. I'm just a country doctor. Please don't tell me they just let this guy have free reign of the ship.
McCoyism. Of course they did. They do it all the time.
Confine him to sickbay or quarters or something.
Yeah.
Well, it turns out he's down in the mess hall admiring all the miniskirts. And an engineering crew person comes in to talk to Lieutenant Masters. The recharge on the dilithium is done, so off they go to engineering. But when she says reamplification finished on the dilithium crystals, camera cuts off to Lazarus, who really perks up.
He's like,
what'd you say?
Yeah. So then they leave, and he follows them out into the hallway, and he's about to wink out again. And he goes into the negative universe. So he's like clinging to a wall and winking out, and he's back fighting this negative universe person. And then when he comes back to normal, he's back with the bandage on his head. Just then, Kirk and McCoy come around the corner, and they see him with the bandage on his head. And Kirk's like, what the fuck are you talking about, McCoy? You're making this shit up. He thinks McCoy is just fucking with him.
Yep. Now, this bandage thing had me thinking that maybe we were dealing with two different Lazaruses.
Yeah, that was what.
This was the giveaway. Yeah, yep.
But then every time he winks out, he's like never in there. He's always by himself. I'm like, damn it! Why can't they keep an eye on this guy so that he can see it?
Yeah. Kirk and McCoy roll up, and McCoy rips the bandage off, revealing a decent cut on this guy's forehead. Yeah. And then so Kirk thinks he's kind of McCoy's fucking with him.
Like, why would he fuck with him? Like, why?
Yeah. So Lazarus snatches back the bandage and presses it back onto the wound. As Uhura calls down, you're going to want to come up here and see this for yourself.
Of course, you have to drop what you're doing and show up, because we can't tell you over the phone. Yeah. We can't tell you over the phone.
Yeah. So Kirk and Lazarus head to the bridge, and when they arrive, Spock has the planet on screen with a glowing dot on the surface, a source of radiation, but he explains that somehow it is both there and not there at the same time. Not registering on any of their scanners, but yet there it is. And Spock describes it as a rip in our universe.
The regular physical laws don't apply there. Yeah. He said the key to locating it was the dilithium, seemed to be the dilithium crystals.
Yeah.
Which, okay, Lazarus, again, he's perking up. Give me your crystals.
Yeah. Kirk's like, Lazarus is going on and on about this other being, and finally Kirk's had enough, and he grabs this guy up by his collar, and he's like, all you've given me is double talk and lies. Lazarus declares he will be given the crystals, says he'll have his vengeance, and leaves in the turbo lift, followed not long after by a red shirt. When Lazarus...
Once again, he's off to explore the ship by himself.
Yeah, yeah.
But the red shirt, he loses the red shirt.
Yeah. When Lazarus exits the turbo lift, he has another nebula seizure. And when it ends, he no longer has the bandage on his forehead.
So guess who it is? It's no bandage Lazarus. I never did think of a humorous name for him.
I didn't either. He enters engineering, where Lieutenant Masters is working on the dilithium or something, and an engineer comes in to let her know that Kirk's on the phone. She goes into the other room to take the call, and while she's gone, Lazarus jumps the engineer and uses some kind of, like, I don't know, reverse smelling salts or something on her.
I didn't know if he was spraying something in their mouth or their nose. I don't know.
Chloroform chapstick or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyway, he drops, and Lazarus goes to the other room, and Casey Anthony's Lieutenant Masters too. Too soon. But she's able to squeak out some cries for help as she goes down. So at least Kirk knows something's happening.
Yeah. And of course they know it's Lazarus. I swear we need to contact OSHA, because they just be letting people roam all around the ship.
Yeah.
On the bridge.
Uhura tells Kirk that security reports Lazarus is missing, as if anyone's actually been watching him this whole time.
I'm telling you, I'm in a mushroom dream. I don't know what the fuck is happening. None of it makes any sense.
After the break, we learned that 2 dilithium crystals went missing. And Kirk and Spock have forehead injury Lazarus in a briefing room. Kirk is spitting facts. You said you needed the crystals. An hour later, they were missing. 2 of my crewmen were attacked. Tell me, Lazarus, if that is your real name, how many lights do you see? And Lazarus is like, there are 4 lights.
Okay.
It's the Next Generation episode.
I don't remember.
Oh, you don't get... Oh, it's great. Oh, I can't wait till we get to that. Oh, it's
I
so
can't
much
wait till
fun.
we get to all the TNG
I know, me
and
too.
Voyager and DS9 episodes.
Okay.
But okay, sorry.
This Lazarus claims it was his enemy that took the crystals, not him.
Well, they couldn't, when they scanned for it, they couldn't find the dilithium crystals anywhere.
Right.
So they're like, okay, we know he's lying, but
Yeah.
we don't know where they are. So
And he goes on to describe the power that this other entity has. He can destroy races, even entire worlds, steal energy sources to power his ship to escape. And the super cringy line here, when they don't respond immediately, Lazarus jumps out of his chair and screams, "Are you deaf as well as blind?" Little cringy. So Kirk decides to beam back down to that source of radiation, and Lazarus is coming too. On the
here we go
planet,
again.
no dilithium crystals in Lazarus's ship, and the radiation source has mysteriously disappeared.
So they go spread out, I guess, looking for the crystal. But then Lazarus gets out of their sight again.
Yep.
And every time he's alone, he goes and he winks out. And then the other Lazarus comes back.
Yep.
So he did that again.
The whole planet rocks this time. Wind is blowing everybody around. The spinning newspaper transition again. Negative image slow-mo Star Trek fight. And when it's all done, forehead injury Lazarus climbs over some rocks at the edge of a cliff. And as he does, a large boulder falls towards Kirk. And he yells at him and saves him just in time. But then Lazarus collapses and topples over the ledge.
Back to sickbay. So this man cannot stand up.
Yeah. And so Lazarus is coming to in sickbay, and he's all bloodied up now, complaining that his head hurts. And Kirk wants to question him, but McCoy does that doctory, "Not now, Jim, he's healing" sort of thing. But Lazarus agrees to talk. And Kirk calls him a liar again. He says, "There's no planet at the location you said you came from, and there's never, it never has been. And so you better start telling us the truth about what the hell's going on around here."
So he kind of fesses up and he says, I kind of did fib a little bit before. This planet is actually his planet from a distant future, and it's been destroyed. And he's a time traveler. By the way, I'm a time traveler, and so is the monster that I'm chasing. And that his spaceship is the actual time chamber.
Lazarus gets a little excitable talking about it, to the point that McCoy is finally like, "Look, you got to let him rest." And then he says, and this was great, "And will you get that muscle man out of my sickbay?"
That's silly.
That's so McCoy, though. As Kirk is leaving, McCoy says, "Don't worry, he's not going anywhere this time." And then, like a fucking idiot, leaves the room.
And he immediately goes sneaking around.
Of course.
Again, but McCoy has ordered the security away.
Yep.
So I want to choke him. I want to choke them all.
So Lazarus goes to get out of the biobed, and he starts having another nebula seizure. Down in the conference room, Kirk and Spock are reviewing the data they have, all mystery, little answers. But as they talk it through, they come to the conclusion that whatever this radiation source is, it must not be from our universe. It's from another universe or another dimension, existing at the same space and time, and somehow one is bleeding over into the other.
And then they figure out that there's 2 copies of Lazarus. And then they're exchanging places through this. Whenever the winking out happens, they're changing places. Somehow they figured out it's a door of some kind.
Like a tunnel with a door on each end.
Right.
Yeah.
And then they say something about matter and antimatter, and if they come together, it will be total annihilation. Dun, dun, dun. I mean, they sounded so ominous.
Spock pointed out that the possibility of parallel universe has been scientifically conceded. And I thought that was an interesting claim to make in the late 60s. And then here we are today with string theory and multiverse theory and all of these different things that people are researching. So they talk about this matter, antimatter, positive, negative, coming together thing. And Spock describes the effects of, if that were to happen, basically all the things that we are experiencing right now would happen. And he points out that if there is a hole in the universe, like a container, it would allow whatever is inside to escape. And Kirk says, or whatever is outside to enter. And he's referencing Commodore Route 66's notion of invasion. But Spock easily dismisses that on a lack of evidence, which is like the invasion. You didn't even have to include the invasion thing. The story would have been fine without that.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't realistic. I didn't buy it. Kirk asks for Spock's take on Lazarus's mental condition, and Spock describes him with almost like bipolar signals. He describes, he says 1 minute he's paranoid, the next calm and rational. Almost, he says, as if he were two men. And now we've got it figured out.
Yep.
So we're going to have to stop this guy, destroy him if necessary. Because if the two should meet, it will mean annihilation on a universal scale.
Dun, dun, dun. I mean, really? Well,
yeah.
Will it though?
Let me step out of the episode for a moment to say this is if there is a problem that I have with New Trek, it is this. Every season arc, every episode cannot continue to raise the stakes. This end of the universe, all life, all matter as we know it, stakes. Stop doing that every time. Like
every time, it's too much.
It's too much. And what we grew up loving about Star Trek, particularly in Next Generation for us, is that wasn't how it was. It wasn't universal stakes. It was, here's a community of like highly undeveloped people, and they are the main concern of this episode. They are the stakes, right?
Right. And I love that about the older.
Yeah.
Because each story was a story on that it could stand on its own.
Mm-hmm.
Now, occasionally they would have this story arc that would jump around through episodes and resolve itself. And that was kind of nice to have that backstory in addition to the main story of each episode.
Yeah.
But I wonder if like maybe show creators and writers think that we just have to be blown away every episode or something, to where it's got to be, we're have to be on the edge of their seats.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't need to be. I need good characters, great
Give me a good
character
story.
development, and good stories and new aliens, not the same old,
Mm-hmm.
not the same old aliens. We know they're evil. Okay, next. Yeah, I agree with you 100%.
Meanwhile, Lazarus is lurking around a hallway and he finds a panel marked high voltage, opens it and proceeds to reconfigure the jumpers inside until it starts smoking. And he closes it up and walks away. But down in the dilithium room, the console starts sparking and smoking.
First of all, OSHA, why would you put a panel in the hallway? That's just, you could just fucking open.
Yep.
It's only there for the story, to move the story along. But it's so annoying, those kinds of things. OSHA.
Lieutenant Masters and the engineer escape into the hallway to call 911 for a fire in engineering.
I'm William Shatner on Rescue 911.
Spock and Kirk rip down to engineering, and there's a couple crew people in like hazmat suits. That was fun. Everything's under control now, but they've figured out this was a distraction by Lazarus to get some crystals. So sure enough, Lazarus wanders into the transporter room with what looks like are probably some crystals wrapped up in the blue cloth. And somebody needs to send this transporter guy back to the academy because he's just like, oh, hey, mister, you shouldn't be in here, you know?
Boom.
Yeah, then he gets headbutted, knocked out. And Lazarus, who apparently knows how the Enterprise transporter controls work.
Right. You could really fuck up something if you don't know.
Yeah, you don't know which buttons you're pressing.
But sure enough, he slides the thing and jumps on the transporter and transports himself back to the planet in his time ship.
Kirk beams down to chase after him, and he sends Spock to round up some red shirts to follow. Meanwhile, Lazarus is loading up a crystal into his time ship, and this crystal prop was something else.
Like a flat rock, a flat triangle,
kind of orange thing.
Shaped rock.
Yeah, I didn't get crystal from it at all.
No.
Anyway, Kirk races into the transporter room. Was this the same transporter room or a different one? Because the transporter operator was knocked out.
It's the same one. It's the same guy, but he's now awake.
Like nothing happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, mushrooms.
Kirk beams down and finds Lazarus in his ship. And as he approaches, Lazarus looks up in a kind of shock and is like, "No, not you." And as Kirk leans forward into the time ship, he winks out. After commercial, we see Kirk now inside this glowing space. And it looks like he's in negative image now, moving in slow-mo.
And I thought for sure he was going to like meet another Kirk or something. I didn't know what to expect in that, but no, he didn't.
And he falls down and we get the nebula seizure effect and Kirk appears back on the planet, but this time it's like dark. And there's a spaceship nearby, very similar to the one that just disappeared in.
And it's missing the glass dome.
Mm-hmm.
And then we see Lazarus with no bandage, right?
Yeah, healthy Lazarus. And he's
calm
surprised.
Lazarus.
Yeah, he's surprised to see Kirk there. They chat, and Lazarus confirms their alternate universe theory. And Kirk's like, "Christ, man, you could have just explained this to us in the first place. We would have understood."
Yeah, instead of lying or being all secretive.
Yeah. Alternate universe Lazarus asks Kirk to help him stop the other Lazarus. He explains that his people learned how to pass through this sort of corridor into a parallel universe. The other Lazarus lost his mind about it, couldn't stand that there was another version of him alive in another universe, and became obsessed with killing him, even at the expense of destroying literally everything.
To me, I'm sorry. To me, that was not, it was a thin reason for this whole thing.
Yeah. I'm mad that there's another version of me in another universe.
I'm gonna kill you.
Okay, bro, be mad.
I'm gonna go nuts, and I hated it.
Yeah. The solution to this problem, Lazarus suggests, is to lure the other Lazarus into this corridor and destroy their ships, effectively locking the door on both sides. Then they'll be trapped there for eternity. And Kirk's like, that's quite a lot, don't you think? And Lazarus says, basically that his life is worth saving 2 universes, the needs of the many and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
So he sends Kirk back to the Prime universe, and Kirk rushes Lazarus, and they grapple a bit. Kirk tells everyone to stand back. Why didn't he just have Spock neck pinch him and toss him into the ship?
I know, they're fighting, and they're doing this really uncomfortable, really close fight, and everyone's just standing around watching.
Yeah.
It was more, they were like locked together, and it was like, okay, cringe, hurry up.
Instead, Kirk gets his hero moment, finally tossing Lazarus into the ship, and he winks away into the corridor. Kirk mentions that he's going to destroy the ship, and Spock asks, "What about Lazarus?"
What of Lazarus?
What of Lazarus? Back on the bridge, Kirk orders phasers to lock on, and he hesitates a minute before destroying the ship. I wasn't really sure how to read that.
I guess because he knows what he's about to do, which is strand these 2 in eternity forever. I mean, I figured won't they die? They're human, so they're gonna die,
right?
But they're gonna be caught together for all eternity. I mean, again, this is real thin stuff. I'm not falling for it. And mushrooms.
As the time ship is destroyed, we get a cutaway to the 2 Lazaruses grappling in that hazy corridor between universes. Finally, Kirk orders Leslie to head out. And the button on our episode, Kirk and Spock are philosophizing about what it might be like to be trapped with a madman version of yourself, battling each other for eternity. And Spock seems like he tries to comfort Kirk here a little bit by saying like, well, the universe is safe. We did it. And Kirk's like, yeah, for you and me. But what of Lazarus?
I found that very dramatic. That what of Lazarus, like Shakespeare type.
Yep, exactly what I got too. Yeah, Shakespeare in space.
Mm-hmm.
Boy, I'm sure glad that's over with.
I'm happy the affair is over.
I hated this episode. I fucking hated it.
Me too.
A most annoying, emotional episode.
Yeah, but I learned something today.
When dreams become more important than reality, you give up travel, building, creating.
One jealous God, if all else makes a God.
By sparing your helpless enemy, who surely would have destroyed you, you demonstrated the advanced trait of mercy.
Frankly, I was rather dismayed by your use of the term half-breed. You must admit, it is an unsophisticated expression.
Most of the time I was like, what? Wait.
Yeah.
No. What? No.
No, I was not a fan either.
Winking out? What the fuck is that? No. I was not a fan. Yeah. So, yeah, I struggled to come up with a...
I thought like... So there's an obvious point of the story that like we had back in The Enemy Within, that sort of good you versus evil you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Though there is, I think, very subtle, an emphasis in applying science and reason as the best way to solve a problem.
Mm-hmm.
So the problem presented is seemingly incomprehensible. Things are happening outside the rules of physics. So figuring out that whole parallel universe thing and how to prevent the matter-antimatter annihilation required reason and rational thought.
Mm-hmm.
I also thought about the version of Lazarus that became so obsessed with the hunt. It was a very like Captain Ahab sort of character.
Yeah. Singular focus, not thinking straight. And then what? Just what are you gonna do when you get that whale, and then what?
Yeah. So that's a cautionary tale, I guess, to not let us be all consumed to the point where you lose yourself. I had to stretch I really had to stretch a bit on this one.
I don't know.
I agree though. I agree that it was a dud. Like some episodes are really good making us think. Some episodes are, they don't really have a moral theme or tale, but they're very entertaining and it builds a character or whatever. And then there are some that just don't do any of that.
Yeah, this one just drove me nuts. It drove me nuts. But as you were talking, maybe it's like, okay, maybe there's something about sacrificing. And then also having to kind of pay for the shit that you created. You know what I mean? Because his punishment, even though I'm sure it was inadvertent, this happened and he's going to have to sacrifice himself because what he's done with the time travel and everything, it could possibly destroy everything. And sometimes you're going to have to fall on your sword to fix your own shit that you caused, even if it means being locked in eternity with your alter ego self, just so that you can repair the damage or prevent the damage that you created. I don't know. I just something I thought of because I have no fucking clue about this. I'm on mushrooms. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, we know some people got trapped in between universes for all eternity. Did anybody die in this episode?
No, I was going to say no. I didn't write. I didn't know. Masters and the other engineer, they were fine. They were just knocked out. So yeah, nobody died.
I hope we see more of Masters. She's a named character with like a decent part. Like, yeah, I hope we see her again.
Yeah, I love seeing it when it's an ethnic woman and they're not just eye candy. She's in engineering.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yep.
So
and working on a bridge.
Go ahead, girl.
Yep.
I see you.
All right. Well, let's take a moment then to thank our patrons.
Let's get right to business.
Fine, I'm authorized to pay an equitable price. Federation has invested a great deal of money in our training. They're about due for a small return.
Listen, we pay off percentages. We're entitled to a little service for our money, huh?
Is this the way your citizens do business? Their right of petition?
They pay their percentages and the boss takes care of them.
Is there anything else?
Thank you, patrons.
Thank you, patrons. One of the best ways to support the show is by becoming a patron, giving us some of your Federation credits. You'll get early access to every episode, some different merch at various levels, and some Patreon-only content that you can only get by joining this Federation of followers. So head on over to patreon.com/humanisttrek, pledge as little as $3 a month. It really does help us in this production of the show. Well, we want to give a special thanks to our founding admirals, Russell, Allie, and Pete. Thank you all so much, everyone, for supporting the show. If you want to help support the show, but you're not able to give us some of your Federation credits at this time, you can do some other things that'll help us out. You can leave us a review and a rating anywhere you listen to the show. Share out the episodes on social media, tell people about us, and help us spread the good word.
I assume you're loitering around here to learn what efficiency rating I plan to give your cadets.
Trainees, to the briefing room. Is that all you gotta say? What about my performance?
Aren't you dead?
I don't believe this was a fair test of my command abilities. There was no way to win.
There's no correct resolution. It's a test of character.
Now, what is that supposed to mean?
I am understandably curious.
May I ask you a question?
Who's been holding up the damn elevator?
All right, let's bring Becca back in for the exciting answer to last week's Starfleet Academy Cadet Challenge. Last time on Humanist Trek, you asked us...
The father of what famous actress was originally cast to play the role of Lazarus?
And I didn't know. Allie guessed Jennifer Aniston.
That would be incorrect.
Oh.
Incorrect. Of course. I was just totally guessing.
Okay, so who is it?
It was Drew Barrymore's father.
Who's he?
I don't know. Who's he?
Yeah.
Her father.
Mr. Barrymore.
Well, he ended up not showing up 2 days in a row, and so they cast somebody else.
No
so
shit.
He wasn't even. He wasn't. They had to replace him.
Wow. I had no idea.
John. I think I didn't write down his name.
John Barrymore.
I think it's John
Barrymore.
John Drew is. I think his middle name is Drew.
Okay.
I
don't remember. I could be wrong. Don't quote me on John.
All right, next week we'll be reviewing The City on the Edge of Forever. Kirk and Spock go back in time to save McCoy and their own universe. Dun, dun, dun. What do you remember about The City on the Edge of Forever?
Nothing.
Okay, I think this is the one with the gateway portal thing. Do you remember Portal from showing up in Discovery? It's the portal where they jump through the portal. I am the guardian of forever.
No.
Oh, wait. Is this the one that has like some real strong, never-ending story vibes?
Yes, I think so. Yeah.
I think if I see it, I'll remember it. It'll come back to me.
Well, maybe the question will help us remember. What is our question? Oh, shit.
Probably not.
What is our question for City on the Edge of Forever?
What iconic actress played the role of Edith Keeler in this episode?
Oh, gotta know this. Oh,
Edith Keeler?
God damn it. I don't know this. I know this, but I don't. Shit.
Oh,
man.
Oh, I did.
Remember,
okay,
she has to die. Like, that's the whole shtick, is that she has to die because if Kirk allows her to live, it changes the future.
Yeah.
That's this episode.
Oh, is this? They were.
She was hit by a car or something.
Oh, because McCoy. Oh, I know. I remember now. I remember.
Who is
this.
it? Who is she?
So McCoy doses himself with something, or some. No, yeah, he doses himself with something. He ends up going to some portal, goes to the future or path or something.
Yes.
They have to go. He and Spock have to go back to the same, but they miss it by a week, so they have to go there and wait. And they live in this woman's basement.
Yes.
And
the actor that played her is
I know Joan Collins. Joan or Jackie Collins. One of them.
You gotta pick one.
Wait. What was the question?
Let's split our odds. You go Jackie, I'll go Joan.
Wait. What was the question again? What was the question?
What iconic actress played the role of Edith Keeler in this episode?
Oh, Joan. It was Joan. It's Joan Collins. I thought you said something about her sister.
Oh, no.
All right. Well, we've locked in our answers. If you want to play along, no cheating, no Googling. Set a course for your nearest social media app. Post your answer. Use the hashtag Starfleet Challenge. And we'll pick our favorite to be the winner. Next time on Humanist Trek, Season 1, Episode 30, The City on the Edge of Forever.
Live long and prosper.
Kapla!
Humanist Trek is available wherever you replicate your podcasts. Follow us on all the social medias at Humanist Trek. Become a patron at patreon.com/Humanist Trek. Open hailing frequencies to podcast@humanisttrek.com and visit our website, humanisttrek.com. Humanist Trek is a production of Sarah Austin Media.